Hello, everybody. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouKnow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset Cafe, where we gather to discuss pieces, pages at a time, of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Today's discussion is around pages 23 to 32. It's the end of chapter 1. And in a nutshell, we're going to be talking about persistence plus success conscious. What is it? Do we get it? Do we have it? Do we want it? How do we get it? And all sorts of wonderful things. So I'm going to open up the seats. It's, as I said, the best I could come up with when I read through the pages. Good morning, Omar. Success conscious. It's the art of converting defeat into stepping stones to opportunity, which, of course, the principles explained throughout the book teach us how to do. Persistence is no matter how many difficulties appear, continue on the path to attain the goal. So, story in the chapter talks about the young girl who goes to the store and pretty much tells the fella, my mother needs 50 cents. And stood there until she got it. She persisted in telling him. She did not deviate from the message. She did not deviate from her spot on the floor or in the door. She just stood her ground and said, this is what I am coming here for, and I will not leave until I get it. Then there's another quick story in there related to sales. Hello, Yusef. Welcome. Related to sales, that according to the fella that now see, now I've got to go back and read it because now I need somebody in here who's read it too. According to so we have Mr. Darby, and he is the same one. What he learned there was that when he would go in to make a sale, oftentimes the sale happened after somebody had already said no. Which to me is where I came up with the success conscious, going in with the message, persistence with the message, and converting the defeat or the no, convert that no into a stepping stone to opportunity. Hello, Monica. Hello, Julio. Good to see you. Here is a copy of the PDF. Hello, Dina. Good to see you. And we're simply discussing those handful of pages, the end of chapter 1. Persistence. What does it really mean? Examples. Jump in the sea. Join me. Or success conscious. Is that where I go in knowing that I'm going to reach my goal? That is my saying that we're going to do this anyway, like Ford did with the Model T. So the point of the whole book, according to Napoleon Hill, or the object, is to help all who seek it. And I think that's the wonderful thing about those of us gathering this morning, is that we're all seeking this. Learn the art of changing my mind from failure consciousness to success consciousness. Going in knowing you will do anything to reach it, doing what it takes. Yes. That's the persistence, followed by the success conscious that says it's worth the effort, right? That I know I'll reach that goal. That's the way I'm reading it. So, quiet morning. Happy Monday, right? So was there a time when you wouldn't take no for an answer? That's what they say. And that you turn the no into a yes, but it didn't happen the same day, which is what I believe we're talking about here. I mean, I know sales cycles in my business can take as long as 6 months. The bigger the company, the longer the sales cycle. I'm not coming up against no's and the persistence on their part, okay, to drag it on. It's okay. I'll do what it takes, answer all your questions, and continue to show you the value you received by hiring me. So it could take as long as 6 months. It can take years. When we talk about people who get in our way, they're our stumbling block. They're not our cheerleaders, but instead they're the ones that are trying to adjust to maybe a new way of thinking that we have. And Matt's saying it also means knowing when to say no so you stay focused on what you're doing and don't become distracted. Yes. Yes, it involves all of that. So when we go into, good morning, Hannity. So when we go into a situation or we're confronted with a situation that right then and there, we're going to go with the 50-cent lesson. Okay, that's when the young child is at the old mill and, you know, the daughter of a tenant walks in. She's the young child. And the owner of the mill asks, what do you want? And she was pretty meek about saying that you need to send my mother 50 cents. And she just didn't move. Didn't matter what the owner of the mill said, she didn't move. And she continued to say the same thing. And it didn't matter what the owner of the mill did. He set down his sack of grain and he appeared to be overbearing and potential harm could occur, if you will. He was somewhat menacing. And she just raised her voice and let him know that you're going to give it to me. My mother needs that 50 cents. And he gave it to her. So the question comes in, how did this young, small child have that much power over a large man, especially in a time when the young child is a young black girl, in a time in America when you did not go up against big white men? Just in general, it was just known at the time. How was she able to get him to do what she wanted? How did she get the end result? It was through persistence. It was also through an unwillingness to yield. And my thinking is, when I read the story, that in her mind it was worse going home without the 50 cents than anything this big fella was going to do to her. So maybe it's the pain of not getting what we're going after is greater than the pain of doing whatever's necessary to go after it. Yeah, badgering works sometimes, depends on the situation. Interesting perspectives. Yeah, there you go, Dina. I mean, that's it. Mama said I got to do this. And Mama's more important and scarier than you are. The consequences of not doing this. The consequences of not getting this done. Right? I think that's the persistence. What happens if I do give up? What happens if I don't give up? So for clear, the thing I'm learning, and I have learned, is that if I'm crystal clear on what my end goal is, I know what I'm going to miss out on if I give up. And it's more important to do that. And it takes over and becomes worth the discomfort. And haven't been through pain, but it's been discomfort. It's worth it, the whatever discomfort that I must go through in order to attain it. Good morning, Craig. Good to see you. Hi, Stan. Glad you're here. Anybody want to jump into the seat? Let's have a discussion. Talking about success conscious, the art of converting defeat into stepping stones to opportunity. That's just a really nice way to put it in. It came right out of the book. Came right out of the book. And you combine that with persistence. Oh, good things. Brian, you're a riot. My mom carried a 2x4. Does she work construction? Another topic, fear of consequence. Yes, that's, I don't know that it's fear of consequence as much as it's acknowledging that there is a consequence for my not doing the actions that need to be done in order for me to reach that goal, that ultimate vision, that major definite purpose I've put out there. There is consequences to my not doing it, just as there's consequences to every action I take towards it. So acknowledge both sides. And something I've been saying recently to a young woman who's asked me to mentor her. I'm still looking at that. I don't know that I will. But what came out of the conversation was, what does it look like if you don't do this? Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Is this working? Yeah, it's working.
It is.
I
don't know what it is, but I can see you and hear you, so I'm assuming that's what you're working on.
I have a little microphone now.
Oh.
Nice. Instead of my little scratching headphone.
It does, yeah. Yeah, you sound much there. That's the Matt we know. All right. Good job. Good job. So what do you think?
Yeah, I do think we're in the comments. We were talking about fear versus love, and we were talking about how the child, like, what was the child's, where on the step ladder of different kinds of motivation was the child doing the action for? Was it out of care for her mother because she really needed the 50 cents? Or was it because the mother, as we're talking about, Brian said, my mom carried a 2x4. Was it out of fear? And either motivation works, but fear is a damaging motivation, especially for somebody that young over time.
Yeah, but all right, so take a look at this. What if it's, I love my mama so much, I'm afraid she's not going to like me if I don't get this done? So there's not necessarily a fear of physical retribution or consequences. Yeah. It could easily be, my mama told me I got to do this, so I got to do this. If I don't, she will be disappointed. I got to tell you, it was the best thing my mother ever did to me.
And that
I got to tell you, Jewish mothers have nothing on Catholic mamas. Okay, just so you know, I've heard about them, but
yeah, I wasn't raised religiously, so I can't speak from experience. But didn't compassion step in from the adult to the child? I wonder. I know there are different degrees of how we lead people, whether we lead them with honor or we go down to the quid pro quo, I'll do this for you, you have to do this for me, or whether we say, you do this for me or you're in big trouble. I do think there has to be some discipline, but when kids are that young, how does it say how old the little girl was?
What, 5 or 6?
Story? 5 or 6? When you you can probably reason with a 5 or 6 year old, but when kids are so young and they can't, you can't.
I've tried. I'm sorry, I don't have any, but I've tried it.
But sometimes, I think discipline. You have to show discipline, and then you have to show double the amount of love and compassion for the kid, because then you're gaining they're gaining your acceptance basically through the kid's ability to just do things for the parents, and that's not a healthy long-term relationship with a parent.
Okay, but how about if we move out of that? Because the poor kid, I mean, this is how many years ago? What the kid taught Mr. Darby is the important part of the story, right?
Yeah.
Is that it taught him to keep on keeping on, to keep doing, to keep moving forward. That he needed to learn that before he could succeed in anything. Before he could succeed in anything, no matter how hard the going may be, he needed to keep going.
Yeah.
And that's what came out of that story for him. I'm sure there's more to the story, but that's what was relayed to the writer.
Yeah. I guess I'm branching outward of the real motivation behind why the child was doing it, and whether it was an acceptance from the parent, or it was, oh my gosh, my mom's going to die, I better persist.
Again, there's consequences
money, right?
to not getting something done. And whatever was important to the child, whatever is important to me, is the consequence enough for me to do what needs to be done and to maintain my level of persistence.
Do you have kids? No, I don't have kids. No. 5-year-olds old or less, there really isn't much negotiation. I mean, yeah, I was watching a podcast about some YouTubers made a podcast, and they're talking about how you can't, like, a 2-year-old, you can't reason with a 2-year-old yet, and they just throw temper tantrums, and it just doesn't work because they're 2 years old. You can't reason with them yet. I think at a point, though, you do have to start to balance discipline and compassion, because if you only discipline or you only show compassion, give them whatever they want, then it starts to...
I have no idea. I don't have kids, don't raise any.
It tips the balance. It probably tips the balance.
And I leave it to the parents who are the experts.
You start teaching Reason it too.
Stan. Yeah, that's why I don't get in there. Stan's a daddy. Yeah, it's a nice concept. You know, it's not like they're little adults. I learned that years ago. It just, you know, when I watch a tantrum, it's like, well, isn't that interesting? And I walk away. You know.
But the art of converting defeat into stepping stones for opportunity, though. The girl,
yes,
going. He is focusing on the fact that the persistence got him what he wanted. Like when somebody. There's another good story of a guy that like wanted a job at a college, and he kept going back and asking, hey, can I work here? And do you have any work for me? And the guy said no. He came back the next day, hey, can I work here? Is there any work for me? No. He persisted in making a contribution to the place and wanting a job. And the guy's finally like, all right, fine. You know, we have this. You can do this simple thing for us. And he broke through that resistance.
Exactly. And that, I think, is what we can take away. And that is that, okay, I'm getting an echo. Anybody else is, it'll pass, I know, sorry. So it distracted me. When I persist in something that's really important to me, then it really doesn't matter what the obstacle is. There are consequences to my achieving it and persisting through, and there's consequences for me not doing it. I think the discipline comes in. No, Tony, I don't have 2 labs open. The discipline comes in when self-discipline, for me to determine what those consequences are, to look at them, acknowledge them with as much honesty and forthrightness as I can to determine how far I'm going to take it. Hi, Dina.
Good morning. Happy Monday.
Good morning.
That's where I'm going to take it, Matt.
Okay, yeah. I am bridging out. I'm bridging out a little bit and going away, but I do think persistence as the main focus of the story is a great one. I tend to go like, oh, there's another thing going on here, you know, with the kid's motivation, but you know, we're going to stick with the persistence because that's the lesson in the story, despite all the fact that I'm trying to turn it into an entire life situation, which has so many factors. But
which could be a fascinating blab elsewhere.
Exactly.
Fascinating. Happy to join you on that one elsewhere.
Persistence is the topic. All right. I'm all set, so I'll open the seat up.
Terrific. Thank you, Matt. Hi, Dina.
Because this is what I want to say. We were going a little bit off track and not, because the whole aspect of the topic today, based on Napoleon Hill's story, was not to go about the child and going through a psychoanalysis of the child. It was just a story all about, you mentioned persistence, but the word that was also capitalized in the book. I read the book.
Yes.
I couldn't finish because I'm a slow reader. I couldn't reach to the 32 page, but I read quite a bit of it. So determination.
Yes.
Is the word.
Yes. Beautiful.
For us to be persistent, we need to be determined. And for us to be determined, we need to have clarity of desire and intensity. What is a specific word he's using? Napoleon is using a specific word which I would like to share concerning desire. There's one specific thing for me as well, Charlene. Not clarity of desire. There's another word. Anybody wants to help me with that? 50 Cent in persistence.
Well, determination was what he was talking about with Ford, right?
Yeah, so I was going to step backwards. Is that the clarity of, in other words, the depth and clarity of the desire. He uses one specific word which does not come now in my mind. It's like an adjective to the desire. Dash desire. So.
Oh, you're freezing, or am I freezing?
He was very clear what he wanted. He wanted it. He had that desire and determination. And you know, the amazing thing about this story is that it was not even based on his abilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
The engineers were saying, and so he uses the word that we very easily use, the word impossible. It's impossible. So his engineers were saying, this is impossible. And he says, I want it, you
Mm-hmm. Because it's not impossible. It is possible. And he kept saying it over and over again. So what it did was...
Yeah, the amazing thing is that he was so determined, and it was not even based on his skills. It was the skills of his engineers. And somehow he managed his whole vibe, his determination, his clarity of thought. This is astonishing. Made the engineers, other people outside of him, find the way.
Correct. He was
burning desire. No, there was another word I was looking for, but thanks for that.
You're right. So I am so clear on what I want. When I have a team around me that's going to help me get what I want, because of the clarity of what I desire and what I want them to ultimately come up with or do. When they come back with, like it was what happened with Ford, kept coming back with, it didn't work, this is what I want. Failure is not an option, is the intensity behind that. Failure is not an option. And when you have a leader that is continually saying by action that failure is not an option, the motivation, and I've experienced this myself, the motivation to think differently is there. Suddenly I have somebody who sees something I'm not quite seeing, but I'm attracted to what they're seeing. I'm attracted to the intensity that they have behind their vision. I'm attracted to the ultimate goal that they set forth, even though I can't see it yet. But I'm attracted to what they're putting in behind all of that. And if I'm a part of it and I continue to go to them and say, this is what I've done to this point, and it's just not working. No, this is what I want. It's my signal to go back and look again and look again and look again. And so by having somebody else do that. Like Ford did it to his team, and they were willing because they wanted the end result. They just didn't know what it looked like yet and didn't know how it was going to happen. Easy to give up. But he kept saying, no, it's possible. And he was also saying, by doing that, he was also saying, I believe you can do it, which changes the momentum a bit, doesn't it? I mean, it's like you have this own little cheerleader who says, I believe you can do it. There, you just go back.
Look down the scene now. The story girl, right?
Oh.
The mother is Ford.
Okay, you have poor internet. Okay, Dina, your internet connection is bad, so we're not hearing everything that you're saying. You know, I want to, but we're not hearing it.
Oh, I don't know what I can do about that. Is it still bad?
Just so you know. Well, we can't see you now because we have the red poor internet signal. We have audio only, and then occasionally the audio is going in and out. So
as long as you can see and hear me.
We just can't hear everything. So when I say that, I just want you to
stop hearing me.
What you said.
For me as well. So maybe it's my connection. So what I was saying, if you can hear me, what I was saying is that in the other example, the mother is what Ford was. She had clarity, desire. She wanted the 50 cents from the white master.
Correct.
She ordered, that's her daughter, she asked her daughter, do not come back without the 50p. In the same way, Ford made it very clear to his engineers, do not come back without having desired my model.
And he gave him permission. He gave him permission and said, stay on the job until you succeed, no matter how much time is required.
So they both knew they have to do it. The boss said it.
See, again, there's consequences because the engineering team knew that if they didn't go back and continue to work on this, they weren't going to have a job. She, the young child, knew that there was consequences of not having that 50 cents in her pocket when she left the mill. You know, I don't know what the consequences were, but there were consequences.
So how the determination is being transferred from the leader to others to succeed, what is really desired.
Yeah. How? Uh-oh. I didn't hear.
Am I still cut?
Okay, now I can hear you. Oh, this is annoying because I know you're saying wonderful things.
Okay, I better go.
Okay.
Then I'll try and text.
Okay.
Or if I can see if it improves the wireless thing. Maybe it's me.
Okay. Well, if somebody wants to join in the other seat, we'll know for certain. I mean, I see me just fine, but we all know how that works, right? So anybody wants to join in the join the discussion.
Fine.
Here's Brian.
See, you missed the comment. I wasn't in already.
There you are. There's Brian.
I have to say where. Very much it reminds me of the story of the talents that Jesus told, where the master gave a bunch of money to his servants, 3 different servants. One buried it, one took it to the bank for interest or something, and the other one. And this reminds me of that story with the girl's persistence. And she's not going to come back to mom, the master, because she fears mom. And fear isn't necessarily a negative word. It can be a positive word, especially when you're dealing with a child, because they know nothing else but fear as motivation. So love doesn't motivate a child.
Okay.
So It's interesting, the concept that Hill is putting forth here is that her persistence, her demand from a 5-year-old child, usually a master will just go away.
Right.
But you don't see that here. You see the girl coming back time and time again. And
well, she never left. That's just it. She was in a position to stand still and just, what I am envisioning, this is what I'm envisioning, is be it a child or an adult who's so focused on getting what they want that you can see that backbone turn more and more into steel. They're not moving. You're just not moving. If you want to be physically threatening, okay, but guess what? I got a worse consequence if I don't get what I want. I want this so badly, and I'm so focused on getting this right now. That's what I'm seeing her, right? That it really doesn't matter what you think, feel, or believe. I am going to get what I want. And she continued to say the same statement over and over again until finally he just gave in. Now, this is where the one thing that I equate this to is what my husband says about me, is that I don't generally get into arguments. And he looks at me, and my brother is the same way. I've learned when I've looked at him. Good morning, Eric and Chris. Glad to have you with us. Thank you. Yes, tell the little bird, tell the world about us. This wonderful crew that meets in the morning. So when I am presented with false information, or when I know I'm right, we'll just put it that way. I know I'm right. There's no reason for me to raise my voice or try to convince you of anything, but you are persisting in trying to tell me that I'm wrong and giving me wrong information. If I know I'm correct and I have the stuff to back it up, I just quietly continue to say the same thing over again. Oftentimes it's no. Yep. And it annoys my husband like crazy. He just sits there and he says, how can you, because he wants to get in there and argue. He says, all you're doing is just saying no, because I don't want to. Yeah, and he just looks at me, or when somebody continues out in a vein, I say, well, you're not willing to learn what the correct answer is. So I'm not interested in doing anything other than just repeat what I know the correct answer to be, which could be that this document states such and such. I mean, I've done that. I've done that in instances where, good morning, Lev, and he left. Instances where we've gone to sign contracts. I've done it with clients. And, where it's, to me, it is a way of thinking that says, all right, here's the contract. You said you would sign.
Yep.
And that's the attitude I go in with. So in those instances, it's just a part of how I do things, right? So I look at it similar. And it's not even that what's the consequences of not getting it done. I don't think that deep. It's more along the lines of, you said you were going to do this. And there I wait. You said you would do this.
Yeah.
And I hear excuses and you said you would do it. I've done it with, actually, come to think of it, I've done it with the phone company over the years. There's no reason to raise the voice and get all whacked out. The contract says, this is what I signed up for. This is what the bill says. It's incorrect. This is what I signed up for. This is what the contract says. This is what I signed for, So, I don't raise my voice. And I didn't realize how often I do that. Christy, big hugs to you, sweetie. Good to see you here. Good morning.
It's a huge learning trait to do that.
Well, now see, and I was always told as a kid that I was stubborn, that I had a one-track mind, and it was always said in a negative tone, which led me to believe that wasn't a good thing. So honestly, I've tried to rein it in. It's difficult to, though, because it's kind of just how I work. All right, I'm getting my big light bulb moment, so I don't know about you guys, but this is some insight into myself, that there's no reason for me to continue to rein it in, that I can take that particular skill or core part of who I am and apply it to pieces of my business consciously.
I am blunt to a fault. I will tell you what I think, and then I always premise it with, now prove me wrong. And I don't know if I told you this story past the life.
I don't know, but you know I'm going to want to hear it. Go ahead.
I had a 30-year-old young lady sitting on my couch, and she was complaining about her parents because she lived with them. And I kept saying to her, you're 30 years old. Go find an apartment and make your own way. I said, you don't need to depend on mom and dad. You're an adult. And she went on, yeah, whatever. And she went on and kept complaining. And 4 or 5 times I said, you're 30 years old. You don't need to be with mom and dad. Go find your own apartment. And finally she looked at me and she goes, you're just going to keep doing that, aren't you? And I said, yes, I am. I said, I'm more than 30 years old, and I'm looking at somebody who never grew up. And I said, I'm sorry to be blunt, but prove me wrong. Have you ever lived alone outside of college? Have you ever? And she went back, no, and consequences. And I just looked at her and said, your consequences don't matter. You're here now. What are you going to do to change your situation? And I preach to myself, too. I can't find work. I've been trying to find work. I think I interview well. I think I do everything well. I'm going to be homeless after this month if I don't find at least about $400. Disability doesn't pay me much. I was diagnosed at 28. So you don't really build up a lot of liquidity.
Correct.
And so it's pretty rough. But I've been going to Walmart, the scourge of every capitalist.
Well, what work are you looking to find? Make it very clear to us. What work are you looking to find? Do not say anything. What can you do there in your apartment at your place?
What I want is web design, development, internet marketing. And graphic design, because I know all of them. I'm redesigning my website right now.
Okay.
What I'll take is anything because I need to pay the bills.
Fair enough.
The only thing I won't do is handle a cash register because I can't feel the dollars.
Fair enough. So out of graphic design, web development, internet marketing, what's your strongest skill?
Probably web design.
Web design?
Yeah.
Or development? Making it look good and layout and navigation and customer side, user experience? Or?
Can I say a little of both?
Yes, you can.
Okay. I think I'm good with the user experience and I'm good with the look, the feel. Well, the feel is user.
Is there a particular platform?
I code. I don't do platforms. I hate WordPress.
Okay.
WordPress is a blog. It's not a website, people. Personally,
really?
But
and yet I could show you right now that use of arbitrage and leverage of other people's skills that you could probably. You may be able to do it quickly where you could sell 3, 4, 5 quick WordPress websites, get them set up, boom, 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 for a couple $100 each. You're done and you've got enough cash flow to go forward. So I'm trying to think through my own networking and connections for anything other than WordPress. And honestly, what comes out is HTML5 and Python is within my connections.
Don't limit, because I can do WordPress. I just don't prefer it. You asked what I wanted, not what I'll take. I'll sit here and cuss out WordPress all I can. But
While you're doing it, right?
yep. No, I'm not
Okay.
picky at this point.
All right. Let's have a quick conversation outside the blab. Give you some ideas of how it might look to get something done quickly. And we'll connect through Twitter. How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay. So be very, very clear on what you will do and what you're looking for. And then be clear on the path to get there. That's one of the things.
Well,
Success conscious is convert the defeat into stepping stones to opportunity. And I think part of that you just showed us, Brian, by saying that this is what I've been doing and it's not working. By saying it out loud, some other thoughts can come into play. Somebody else's thoughts can come into play. And that's where you reach out and get assistance from other people. I mean, let's put it as lightly as possible. And, overall.
that's why I'm here. I'm not one that stands above anybody.
No, you're not. And you haven't been since I've known you. Hi, Rocco and Stacy. Welcome.
I'll do anything it takes as long as I can. I just won't compromise integrity. And that's something, that's why I won't work with a cash register, because if I touch cash, I can't feel the dollars.
Right.
And then I'm a thief. So
You're funny. Your dog in the background is saying hello.
So I will let you go, because she
Terrific.
said I need to let her go. So
okay, Brian, we'll talk later. We'll connect today. Anybody else want to jump in the seat? Let's talk about success conscious, art of converting defeat into stepping stones to opportunity. And what does persistence look like? I got to tell you, Christy, that's the first time anybody's ever said quite what you just said, that you rely on my one-track mind. That's interesting. My husband laughs and appreciates it because it has benefited him numerous times. And then most of the other time, what I got is, could you please, enough? No. That's enough, Charlie. No. And so it's funny that I can naturally do it in some instances, and what's coming up in my mind, what I will be exploring later on through the rest of today and into upcoming days is I never thought to consciously bring that in as a skill or an attribute, a positive, which of course I guess comes up with maybe I do, and yet I'm not clear enough on what it is that I want, which is why I get those stopping blocks. Okay, love that, Rocco. Love that. The more rocks they throw, the more we have to build our castle. It's one of the biggest reasons I know I can bring my own chaos to you to think clearly. That's interesting. Okay. Thank you, Christy. All right, anybody want to jump in and just, what's topic today? It's success conscious, being success conscious, and persistence, the combination. And it's based off the two stories in the last half of chapter 1, which is where you've got the mill owner, big white guy, being told by a 5-year-old little black girl, and we're talking back into the late 1800s here. She was a member of a family that were tenants of his. So we could look at it as sharecroppers, or maybe they were this is assumptions because of the timing. But her mother sent her to him to get 50 cents. And she stood in the doorway, regardless of his reaction, regardless of him saying no, regardless of him becoming a little puffed up, I'm imagining, and because he's frustrated with her continued focus of, you will give me 50 cents. My mother said, I will get 50 cents from you. And so he puffs up, and he probably gets a little menacing, gets that look on his face, a scowl. And she just yells the same thing she's been saying, which is that my mammy sent me to get 50 cents. And so he does. He gives her the 50 cents. And what he learned from that is the important takeaway for me, is that, and he's taken it into sales, and he's taken it into other things, but it taught him to keep on keeping on. He says, every time a prospect tried to bow me out without buying, I saw that child standing there in the old mill, her big eyes glaring in defiance. And I have said to myself, I've got to make this sale. And he admits that the better portion of all sales he made were after the people had already said no, and that's based on his persistence. I find that inspiring. Hey, Rocco.
Yeah, no just means new opportunity.
Yeah, see, and when you say that, it doesn't make much sense to somebody who's not read the story or gone through the discussions we've had, but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. If you're that focused on something.
Yeah, it's happened many times in my life. I understand, though, what rejection feels like. It feels weird, but it's about reframing it to understanding.
That's what I got to learn to do, because I got to tell you, I'm already thinking about if I were in sales positions and those times when I walked away, and if I had stayed because I really wanted the sale, because I was upset I didn't get it, and just continued to persist. The one thing I don't want to be known as is annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly when I say it out loud, it's not that big a deal. Wow, is that the worst that can happen? But honestly, this was going through my head. That's one thing. I don't want people saying, oh, that's Charlene. Oh, God, stay away from her. She's annoying.
I feel you. A lot of times that's the story that we tell ourselves, though.
Yes, I know.
Because it's something that somebody once told us. You know what? Let me tell you a story. Okay. Yesterday I was at the department store, and I saw this blazer I really like. It was this velvet blazer, and I was like, I like that. And then I realized that I get anxiety when I'm about to buy something, and it's because when I was younger, my father told me to buy something, and I wanted to buy something, and he told me it was too expensive, and I really wanted it. And then he created this big hoopla, and it was very traumatic for me. And I was like, what is going on? So it's a story you tell yourself, even though it's not reality anymore.
You are exactly right. I've got a cousin who, she's well into her 40s, and she will not make more than a particular amount per year. And it's totally based on her father. And he had mental illness. Every single thing that happened in that house was associated with its cost in money.
Mm-hmm.
And this poor woman, she has a master's in fine art. She is a beautiful artist. She can sculpt like nobody's business. She is brilliant. She walked into an attorney's office and became an assistant within days so that she could do what she needed to do to get her master's degree in fine art. And she worked with the attorney about delving into social media and the law and all kinds of fabulous things, right? She has racked up a couple of $100,000 in student loans. But that's okay, because she knows that if she doesn't make enough money for over 20 years, they'll be forgiven.
Wow.
And that is solely, when I say that out loud, she's lovable, and she's fantastic, and she's awesome, and I love her.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I know where it all comes from.
Yeah. It usually comes from our childhood.
And that's exactly where it came from for her.
Our developmental ages, our formative years. And it's our responsibility as adults to like nurture that inner child, you know. And
well, to recognize it like you did, you're able to recognize it. She's not gone through anything like this, so that's the path she's on.
Awareness.
More power to her. Okay, love you. You know, enjoy you. I enjoy who you are. I love being around you, and all of that. I'm just saying that I want to be like you, Rocco, in that I'm trying to identify that which is preventing me from what I want.
Right.
You know,
and that's where you have to like almost remove the ego and the pride and just be like, listen, you know, it's okay. Everyone has problems. Everyone has, so let me just recognize it and take a look at it and experience the emotion. And then every day walk towards rewiring that by like meeting new people with different, you got to change the things in your life to change the things in your life. You have to do something different in order to experience something different.
Right.
No matter how like randomly ridiculous. Okay, let me give you an example. I always like, okay,
You're going to get randomly ridiculous on us?
Yeah, like I'm about to get woo.
Oh, no.
So like I always fall for real shy girls. Real sweet shy girls, because my mother's real sweet and shy, you know.
Okay.
And they're usually like wounded birds, like wounded birdies, you know, because I have the desire to help and the desire to. So I was at the Miss Swimsuit USA International in Punta Cana, and there's 60 girls from all around the world, and I decided that I'm gonna like start crushing on the girl that's sweet and the girl that's sort of like sitting by herself, and you know, and I'm like, uh-oh, Rocco, you fallen into that same thing. So what I did was I like consciously took a deep breath, and I'm like, okay, let me find the girl that's completely opposite to her, and let me go talk to her instead of talking to the one that I usually would talk to. Let me go and talk to the girl that's completely different, completely that makes me uncomfortable, you know. Right. And that one girl is like real loud, real like confident, walked with the strut. She was extremely confident and bold, and I was really uncomfortable talking to her. But I decided to spend time with that one. Well, that's the one that won. The one that I decided to go for, which was the complete opposite. I had to change who I decided to talk to in order to sort of prove to myself and reflect in my reality that I deserved to like be around something that was different. And it actually created something different in my rewiring process. So when I came back home, I realized the people I was attracting into my life were more confident, more active, instead of the people that are like the homebodies that read books. There's nothing wrong with it. But if I wanted to see something different in my life, I had to have tried something different that made me feel uncomfortable. And it's like working out, you know, the muscles will be sore at first. You're like, man, I don't know, this is really uncomfortable. Really, it's making me very sore. But after a while, it'll change. It'll change the things. And that's part of being success conscious, you know. When I first started my music career, Charlene, I used to sell CDs at Shell gas station for $5 each. I was 16 years old, and I would have these CDs with really horrible graphics on the cover, and I would sell the CD, and I'd go up to people, and I'd be so shy. I'd be like, oh, hey, listen, you listen to hip hop? And I would go up to you, and I would get rejected, and I'd feel horrible. And then I had a mentor that was there too. He was this other artist, and he's like, you're not leaving here until you sell 50 CDs. And I'd have to sit there and walk up to every single person that I would see until I sold 50 CDs. I'll be there for 15 hours a day, just like trying my best to walk up to people. And I got, really uncomfortable, anxiety attacks, panic attacks. But then after doing it so much, what happens is you fall in love with what you're doing because you're doing it so much. Even a negative habit, you fall in love with a negative habit because you're just doing it so much, and that's what becomes comfortable to you. Like, there's people that eat coins and people that eat cotton balls. They eat some weird stuff that they do, but they do it so much that becomes their norm, you know?
So you just described the persistence when you were selling the CDs and learning how to reach that goal. You're going to do it no matter what. You know, I mean, took somebody else telling you to do it, so what? That's what I heard, right?
That's what we just need accountability sometimes.
There you go. So that
Structure
comes into play.
organization.
Yes. Now the other thing that ends this chapter out, and Dina asked that I focus on it, and honestly I think it's a great way to end the recording, is that on page 29 of the PDF that I'm reading from, which by the way, if you're so inclined, there's the link. All right, so it's on page 29, and Henley wrote, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And Napoleon Hill is saying that he should have informed us we are the masters of our fate, the captains of our souls, because we have the power to control our thoughts, which is what you just described. You just described that, Rocco, about your initial story, about how you made that conscious decision when, instead of approaching the young woman that was the norm for you, you had already decided another time somewhere in there that you were going to try somebody different, but that's not what you wanted this time. You wanted something different, and you made the conscious decision that you would do something differently, and you did. You were the master of your own thoughts because you recognized, I know what I heard you do.
Yeah.
You recognized that what your intention was not what you really wanted. You did that when the guy was trying to teach you the sales and handling the rejection when it came to selling the CDs.
Mm.
You recognized that what he was offering was better than what you were doing. The end result was, even though we can't articulate that, that's what I'm hearing out of the story, which is inspiring to me, right? And saying that I recognize that the direction I'm headed with my business is much better than where it was a year ago, and 2 years ago, and 3 years ago, which is why I selected the direction I wanted for the business. It's better. It's not that that was bad before, it's that this is the direction I want to go in. And so what am I doing to make that happen? Right? So that's where I got out of it. I know it was a lot that you didn't say, but that's what I got out of it.
No, you articulate it so much better than I do.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to shut down the recording portion only. Room can stay open for 30, 40 minutes, however long we need to stay here, up to an hour, no more than an hour, because I do have, I want to spend time with Brian, have some ideas for him. If anybody else has ideas for Brian, get with him on Twitter. Well, the man's needing a couple $100 by the end of the month. That's all he needs. We can help him. We can help him find something that will get some money into his pocket. We can do that. That's what the team is for. So I want to thank you.
What does he do? What's his?
We're going to get to that in a second.
Okay.
Say thank you for those who joined me in the live stream, which was Dina, Matt, Brian, Rocco. Thank you all for in the comments section. Terrific stuff. Terrific comments out of the comment section. And those who are watching the replay, glad you were with us. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know, www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses.